What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drewbie Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I have seen it, heard about it, lived through it, and now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people on the planet, the sales community, because sales is literally the greatest job on earth. It gives us the opportunity to create the life that we want to live, to have amazing experiences, make crazy money, and hear about some crazy ass stories. And today's guest, he shared with me a couple along the way. I know he's got one for us today that's probably going to blow your mind. He is also the owner of the Success Profiles Radio and host and writer of Authorpreneur magazine. He is my friend, Mr. Brian K. Wright. What's up, brother?
Drewbie, how are you?
I am crushing the day, my friend, as you know and well. Very excited to have you on, man. You are literally a writer for life. You help people write their book. You have magazines. You host and have been on the radio for, man, so much time. I'm so excited to hear some of your stories today, brother.
My 12-year anniversary on Success Profiles Radio is coming up very shortly. And I've been publishing Ultimate Achievers magazine for 6 years. And you mentioned Authorpreneur magazine. That's actually a work in progress. That's going to happen soon. So that'll be geared toward people who are writing and marketing.
I'm gear.
Yeah.
That is fantastic, man.
Very, very excited about that and some other big projects that I can't talk about yet that are going to come to fruition soon. And all kinds of goodness is happening over here. I'm happy and grateful for it all.
I absolutely love that, man. And I am grateful for you being here with us. I know you're very busy. You're running your business and you're, one of the most successful entrepreneurs I know out there, helping people share their message and put it out there. But I got to know, man, we got to hear that crazy sales story. So I know it's not necessarily sales directly, but it's so wild I had to bring it on the show.
Right. Well, you made a post on Facebook recently to talk about some of the craziest things that have ever happened in your workplace. And I messaged you and I said, I don't think I should share this in the group, but I want to tell you privately and you can decide whether it's something that you want to share with the group or not. And here we are. So clearly you do. So I was the trainer in a call center. And on this particular occasion, I was given a short day because I wasn't training a class that week. So I showed up at 10 a.m. instead of 6 a.m. I was working in the quality assurance department. And when training classes came up, then I would train inbound and outbound salespeople and QA representatives. So on this particular day, I clocked in and I have to go through the break room to get to my desk. When I get to the break room, I notice something really unusual. There are 3 break rooms or 3 tables in the break room. And on the middle table, someone had left a giant deuce. I'm not even kidding. And instead of proceeding to my desk, I turned around and I walked over to the HR manager's office. And so I knocked on the door. She said, come in. I said, Kathy, can I talk to you for a minute? She's like, yeah, what's up? I said, did someone get fired today? And she said, yeah, why? I need to show you something. And when I told her what had happened, she said, no. I said, I can't possibly make this up. Because there was a surveillance camera in the break room, as there should be in any legitimate call center or company, right? So I said, as of 20 seconds ago, it was still there. I came straight here. I didn't even go to my desk first, but you need to see this. And when I showed it to her, I did this. I resisted the urge to say, ta-da. I didn't. But I showed it to her and she said, who would do something like this? And I said, I don't know if you want to do a DNA test on this. I don't know, but I have no idea. I'm not doing that. And I said, well, anyway, I just wanted to show that to you and share that with you. And I have no idea who would do such a thing, but thanks for listening to me. And then I went to my desk and started on with my day. And I said not a word to anybody about it because I didn't want that to be the big topic of discussion in the room all day long.
I mean, did they ever find the mystery pooper?
I have no idea. That's way beyond my pay grade.
I don't know. That opens a whole line of curiosity for me.
It was impressive, I will say that. And I believe it was sitting on a paper towel. So at least somebody was, I don't know, I shouldn't say sanitary because we are talking about poop. But yeah, it's like, well, my question is, did someone just like walk it in and just place it on the table, or did someone squat in the break room? I have no idea how that happened. or why someone would
See?
happen.
See?
But that's the first thing I thought of is someone must have gotten fired today. Let me go ask HR.
I mean, again, that's why this show exists, because we've seen it, and I've probably read about it in some weird, obscure Reddit thread where it's like, oh, I shit on my boss's desk when I quit. But, like, I've never met someone who actually was now legitimately, man, I was walking in, and, yep, there was a deuce right on the table there. And
Right
now,
the
again, the
table.
curiosity of, like, did they just hop
Now,
up there and pop a squat? Did they... I'm so curious.
I will also say I did not eat at that table for lunch that day. I ate at a different table. And I did not tell anyone all day long. And so there were people who ate at that table who had no idea what happened an hour ago.
Oh, Brian.
I just was totally channeling the Beatles. Let it be. Let it be.
Oh, my gosh. Now,
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that was a
that's
magical
a
mystery tour I'll never forget.
Oh, boy, man. And not only are you hilarious, you're very punny. And that is one of the things I love about you, Brian, is that you have a very unique entrepreneurial journey. The way that you approach sales and service, man, I really appreciate about you. And I'm glad that we were able to get you scheduled to be on the show, because a lot of what you're doing is really helping professionals get their story out and help them unscramble all of the tangled webs that they have so that they can get their message across. Because one of the things that you and I have really seen and experienced on our time knowing each other, which, I mean, we've probably known each other close to 5 years almost now.
Probably.
It's pretty wild how fast time goes. Getting those tactics, getting those trainings, getting that strategy out, you know, when you're writing a book or you're creating SOPs for a business or a sales class, I know untangling that web is an important part, and the way that you approach sales is very interesting. So I'd love to know from you, you know, when you think about sales, what would you say is kind of like your secret weapon or your sales superpower?
Follow up. Follow up is my superpower. In fact, I frequently have people thank me for following up, because my avatar is I help people who are established in their businesses, people who are busy and established in their businesses, get their message out to the world. I work with people who don't have time to do it themselves. They have the money and not the time. Because when you have time and not the money, I can't work with you, because if you can't pay me, I just can't give you, I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you for free and give you a couple ideas. But, you know, if you do that too often, I'm going to ask you to pay for coaching. But yeah, I want to work with people who have money but not time. And I think that's a real solid avatar to have, especially if you're offering a high ticket item like helping people ghostwrite their book for them. But in terms of follow up, I'll tell you, I am not afraid of following up. In fact, I make it a goal to keep it relational. Whenever I am following up, I'll say something like, hey, I hope you're having a great day. Been a while. Love to reconnect soon. And they probably know what it's about, but I don't just blatantly mention it. Hey, have you thought about starting this book soon? I mean, I don't hit people over the head with it. And when I have calls with people that I'm catching up with, we talk about a bunch of stuff first. And when I sense we're getting near the end, I'll say, I know we talked one time about me helping you write your book. That's still on your radar, isn't it? Oh yeah. And then they'll tell me when or why or what their story is. And what I'll frequently also tell them is that the longer you wait to share your message, the longer that someone who really needs you doesn't get to experience your brilliance. In fact, I had someone today who we've had ongoing conversations for 4 years, and he still hasn't hired me yet. He says he fully intends to. Now, after 4 years, do I believe him or not? I don't know. But I had posted something relating to writing a book back in December before Christmas, and we hadn't talked in maybe 2 years. He responded saying, we should talk about the book again. I said, yes, we should. And so I messaged him. I said, hey, so-and-so, let's hop on a phone call and talk for a while. It's been a while. And so we talked, and this is one of those situations where it became very clear that the wife is the one who runs the show and makes all the important decisions. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't even getting to talk to her. She was calling the shots without my access. And I realized, you know what? I don't think I want to deal with this energy right now. And so I didn't follow up. I think I wished him Merry Christmas. And then I heard from him today, hey, talk to my wife about it. And she says, we're paying for kids' college now. We've got some things in the business going on. And I just sat with that for a minute. How do I winfully respond to this? Because I know what I wanted to say, put your pants on, let's do this. But I didn't. I said, well, I appreciate that. Those are all very important things that you mentioned. But in my experience, something will always come up. I look forward to working with you when you're ready. And then he wrote back a few minutes later something about, well, maybe you should talk about my topic on the show so that you know how important this is. And I wasn't sure what he was angling at. And I said, well, I'd be glad to have you on my show after we get your book done. And you can talk about that all you want.
Come on.
And he gave me a thumbs up emoji. I'm probably not going to bother him again for quite a long time. Because if you haven't pulled the trigger after 4 years, you probably aren't going to. And I also did tell him you probably should understand that the rate I quoted you 4 years ago is not my current rate. You know this, right? Yeah, I was afraid of that. You think I'm going to honor your rate? No.
There is a fine line, man. That's what I love about follow-up is that, like, there's the push and the pull. And certain individuals, doesn't matter how much value you provide them, doesn't matter how much you offer them, they have to make the decision to move forward. And one of the things that is, hard for salespeople to understand is that not everybody is going to buy from you. And I'm not like, in this situation, the guy obviously wants it. He hasn't been able to sell his wife on why he needs to write this book for himself. And like, hey man, that's a whole conversation. That's a different conversation for another day. But the follow-up is key because you just continuing to be a good person and be there and be ready when the time is. He's going to have to make a decision to commit, and he's going to have to pay your rate, whatever it is. So that's the follow-up is the king, and that's the way to do it.
Absolutely. And I will also tell you, and I know this is true for you too, I am not afraid to fire a client if I have to. I don't have to do it very often. I've only had to do it twice. One happened when, here's an interesting scenario. A few years ago, I wrote a book for a friend who didn't have a lot of money, but he's a good friend. And so I wanted to help him. And so I gave him I gave him the bro discount. A couple years later, he referred a friend of his, an equally broke friend of his, and I quoted him my full rate, what it was at the time. And he was fine with it. He wanted a monthly payment. I'm never doing that again, by the way, because he paid me 2 monthly payments, said he lost his job. He got a new job 30 days later, but he didn't start paying me again. And so I stopped working on his book. And then he got really angry. It's like, where's my book? I said, where's my money? And he insisted on seeing samples along the way. He was one of those really ultra demanding people. The people that pay the least expect the most. I'm sure you've experienced that. But after a while, he started talking about how much he hated my work. And I finally confronted him. I said, I think you're only saying this because, you can't afford me anymore. And so I think it's just best that we part ways right now. You've paid me 20% of my total fee. And you were expecting a completed draft of your book. That is not happening. And so I let him go.
Expectations.
And then the other client I had to fire decided that he needed to have a weekly meeting with me. I'm like, no, you don't need a weekly meeting with me on something that will take several months to do. He wanted to micromanage me. And that's not happening either. It's like, no, this is why I don't have a job.
Well, I said it from the start, man. Sales is the one industry that allows you to literally create the life you want. You don't want to work with certain people. You don't have to work with certain people. You don't want to go to work at certain times a day. I mean, depending on what you're selling, you don't have to be there. That's what I love about entrepreneurship is that freedom.
Yeah. And that being said, I've worked with a lot of amazing clients. Some of them are people that you and I both know, and it was fantastic. And this is why I love doing what I do. I mean, I love helping people spread their message in their book, in their magazine, on my show, and people who work with me get to be on my radio show too. And I don't take every pitch that I get. A lot of PR agencies will approach me wanting to pitch their guests, and I've learned to recognize what a good pitch is and what a good pitch is not. I mean, don't say you're a fan of my show unless you can prove it. It's like, well, any monkey can say, hey, I love your show. So-and-so is really excited about coming on your show. Well, okay. Because
I want to touch on something though, because I believe there's something to be said about the individuals who know they need to write the book. They feel called to write a book. There's that inner, just that calling, that feeling like, hey, I want to write a book. It's so it seems so insurmountable for most individuals. And yet I just literally released my Call to Damn Leads book. This is book number 4 that I've written. I graduated with a 1.8 GPA. I failed sophomore English 2 times and now have written 4 books, 2 bestsellers. This one got to the top of the new releases. I don't know if it'll hit bestseller, but we're going to keep pushing for it. And more than anything, though, what I've learned is that by putting yourself in a position, working with a professional like you, Brian, to get that story out there, it is such an amazing feeling because you now have the opportunity to help so many individuals. And I mean, really, what's the thing? If you're going to be an expert on a topic, you met with, maybe an expert financial planner or an expert roofer or whatever industry you're in, what's going to be more powerful, leaving your business card or being like, hey, man, I wrote the book on the topic. Let me leave you one of these and then give me a call when you're ready to take action.
Yeah. And it's so interesting that you say that, too, because when people ask me, should I write a book? I ask them to think about the questions that people ask them all the time. If you get the same questions over and over and over again, how much more powerful is it to say, just read my book? It's all here. Mm-hmm. Just read it. I'll sign it for you. I'll even give it to you if you want me to. But yeah, it's interesting. If I could, I don't mean to steer the conversation, but let's talk about confidently quoting a higher rate when you raise your rates. I mean, I'm sure you come up against that. Yeah. I mean, now some of the people watching may not be in control of what they charge if they're selling insurance or whatever. It's like, it's a rate. You don't get to choose that. But if you are offering a service where you get to control how much you are charging for people, here's, in my experience, a clue about when you should higher your rates. When you quote your rate to someone says, oh, that's really reasonable. Shoot, I should have asked for a bigger number. I probably would have gotten it. Mm-hmm. And when you do raise your rate, quote it very confidently. When I raised my rate to my current rate, and I think it's probably been about 3 years now, the first couple of times I quoted it, I wasn't extremely confident. I didn't get the sale. But the third time I quoted it, I ended up getting the sale, and I ended up getting paid in full. It was $10,000. What was really cool, here's a little trick that maybe you might appreciate this. If someone is hemming and hawing about whether to pay you in full or whether you should let them do payments, this guy was fully capable of making a paid in full installment, just pay once. He asked about payments, but earlier in the conversation, he had mentioned that he loved his Amex card because he could get a lot of points. He had a really good points plan on his Amex card. After a while, I finally said, wouldn't it just be a better idea to pay it all in full so you can have all your Amex points now? That's a great idea. Here's my card.
Creative.
Use what they tell you.
I love that.
They will tell you how to sell them if you're listening and out of your own head.
You know what, Brian? That is such a great point.
Yeah, they will tell you how to sell them.
They will give you everything you need. When you're so one of the things that I talk about in the book actually is the calls process, and it's asking. Part of it is asking very specific questions and listening intently, because so many sales professionals fumble the bag because they want to tell the client what they need and why they need it, instead of asking questions so that the client can tell them what they want. And then as you're listening, you can explain to them how what they want is exactly in what they need. And what they need is the thing that you offer. And now all of a sudden, all of it makes sense.
It's a lot like playing cards. Just because you have great cards in your hand doesn't mean you have to play them all, because you might talk your way out of the sale. Only play the card you need to play when you need to play it. Answer the question they're asking. Yeah, play the card that you need to play and then stop. Some people talk their way out of a sale because they want to show the customer how smart they think they are. They don't care how smart they think you are. They want their problem solved. They don't care about anything else about, that. They just want to know, can you solve my problem? And are you the right person to do it? And can they afford you? Do they want to pay you? And they're probably also thinking, do I really want to spend time with this salesperson in the fulfillment of my deal? Do I like this person? Is this person a pain to work with? I mean, I tell you what, if you're trying to sell me and you're a pain in the butt, I won't. If you make all kinds of assumptions about me that are not true, I probably won't work with you. In fact, I'll tell you a fun little story. Back in the 90s, I was a resume writer, and I had an office in a Sears store in a shopping mall. And so during lunch, I would walk through the mall, and there was a record store. And it was in December, so it was a couple of weeks before Christmas. And I was thinking that, I want to get ideas for maybe what to get my parents for Christmas that year. Well, young salesman comes up to me, mistakenly assumes that I'm shopping for myself. Hello, Christmas is 2 weeks away. First of all, you should be asking me, who are you shopping for today? So he started pointing me out to all the music he thought I would like instead of the music that I was actually looking for. And I was on my lunch break, so I could legitimately say, I'm just looking now because I'm on my lunch break, but I might come back later because, Christmas is coming in a couple of weeks. I have to buy something sometime. Mental note, I did not buy anything from this person because he didn't ask me why I was there. Now, was I being too hard on him? No, but I'm not going to reward stupidity. I just won't. That's just a thing I have. I don't reward incompetence. I just don't.
You're not alone in that, sir. And it is really, it's a great awareness because I know I've done it too. I've assumed for people, I've made that mistake of saying, oh, well, clearly you're here for this thing and let me show you this thing. And that's what happens is we rush, we get in a hurry and we skip the process. Yeah. Great sales professionals, we have a process. It's when we deviate from the process that things get weird and things don't go right. And so I appreciate you sharing that because the truth is you don't have to do business with everybody. It's totally okay to fire clients and to tell people no. And also it's very important that as a professional, you understand the nuance of working with other professionals because especially sales professionals, we're judging you. We're judging us. We're judging you. We're judging your pitch, the way that you approach. We're judging the way the business works. And so I love that, you're very open and honest of hey, I don't want to work with someone who's not actively trying to work with me because sales is about service. It is about helping. And one thing I know about you, Brian, is you are always helping and providing value. You have, all of the content that you're sharing, the radio show, the articles that you put out. I know that there is so much value you're putting out, which is why I wanted to have you on the show. And also you had a pretty wild ass story for us. So I know time's running short. I don't want to keep you too long. What is the best way if they're, listening for someone to come and find you, if maybe they want to write a book or they're thinking about it, maybe want to learn more, how can they come and find you to learn about that process?
I have a couple sites. One is writeabookforyou.com, writeabookforyou.com, spelled all the way out. And briankwright.com will share everything that I'm doing.
I love that. Makes it easy on me. I'll make sure I put all that in the show notes. If you guys, gals, anyone who was listening today, if you got some value, if you felt entertained by Brian's story, do me a favor, share this with your friends, family, your auntie and all them, your favorite sales professionals. Put it on social media, tag us at Call the Damn Leads. Let people know. We have fun stories on here. We have a good time. If you've got a story, I'd love for you to come on and share it with us. Now, Brian, before we get out of here, sales, it's a great industry. Gives you an opportunity. Anyone, any background can literally come into sales and change their life. If the person listening today is new in the game and you could give them one piece of advice on how to be successful with this industry, what would you tell them?
Don't chase the money. Don't chase the money. People hate commission breath and they can smell it a mile away.
That's powerful. It's true.
Yeah.
It's very true. Not only should you have brush teeth and clean breath, if you have commission breath, it smells from a mile away. And the best thing that I learned in sales, and Brian, you'll probably relate to this, is that when you're truly focused on helping people, the money becomes a byproduct to the number of people that you can help. And the crazy thing is, man, when you're putting that energy into the universe, God, whatever you subscribe to, it will give you all you need to provide that help and that service. And again, money just becomes a byproduct of doing so. So I think that's fantastic, Brian. Thank you so much for that advice. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Any last words before we get out of here?
Gosh, completely unrelated topic. Never miss an opportunity to pet your dog.
I mean, that's a fantastic piece of advice. You never know. I love that.
You never know.
Well,
yeah.
Brian, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you for hanging out with me today. If you were here, again, and you enjoyed it, share it on social media. Tell people about it. Tag us at Call the Damn Leads. If you have a crazy sales story, I would love to bring you on the show to share that story, to get it out to the world because, again, sales is awesome. There's crazy stories. And it's a good place for us to connect and learn and grow together. So head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us your information. We'll book a time to bring you on to share your story. And as always, this is your reminder to get out there and call the damn leads. We'll see you on the next one.